it?
Yeah, normally to establish a secure connection between the domains. So this AD trust will be useful.
Okay, so domains, different domains, same domain, or what exactly?
In same domain, like a primary, like a parent domain and child domain.
Mhm. And what is transitive trust and what is non-transitive trust? Yesterday we discussed.
Yes.
Mhm.
So transitive trust means if we are trying to connect within three domain. So for first means like for A and B, if we are connecting, so it will directly means in if we are forming the trust between AB and AC, so it will directly connect from A to C. Trust will establish like that. It's a transitive. By default, it will do, and non-transitive, it will not create a trust between like A and C domain, like that one.
Hmm?
Yes.
Okay, let's suppose I have a child domain, right?
Yes.
So I have a in a forest I have a parent domain and I have the child domain, right? Do I need to build a trust or will it be built automatically?
In transitive, it will build automatically.
Is it a, will it be a transitive trust or will it be a non-transitive trust?
Sorry, can you repeat once?
Will it be a transitive trust or will it be a
No, no, no.
non-transitive
That
trust?
example, like means child domain. That one, can you repeat once?
Yeah, I'm saying that in a forest, I have one parent domain and I have one child domain.
Okay.
Okay, one have a child domain.
Hmm. Yes, so that will be a transitive trust. It's one parent domain and one child domain, so it will create a trust.
No, no. Do I need to? Do we need to create it manually or will it be done automatically?
No, it will be done automatically.
Why?
Because there is only one parent domain and one child domain, so
Mm-hmm.
that will be create automatically.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Perfect. Because it's a part of the same domain, right?
Yes.
So parent-child trust will be built automatically. So for that, you don't have to go ahead and make the no need to build a trust.
Yes.
Okay, I'll just share my screen. Let me know once you start seeing that.
Yeah.
Can you see?
Yes.
All right. See now in this, say this is completely a forest. There is one big forest. Okay,
Hmm.
it's a one big forest, and in this forest we have a domain. Okay,
Yeah.
tailspintoys.com. This is a forest root domain.
Hmm.
Okay, and spintoys.com is a domain, right? So then we have some child domain called europe.tailspintoys.com and asia.tailspintoys.com, right? So there is a trust, parent child trust has been established between them, and we don't have to go ahead and build it manually. Okay, so it will be created automatically. Okay,
Hmm.
and now say in the same forest we have a different tree. Okay, so it's a, let's say it's a wingtiptoys.com, right? And for this, say for this it's a different tree. Okay, so for this we need to create a trust. Okay, we need to create a tree root trust. We need to create it, but inside it, if we just check more, it's again wingtiptoys.com and usa.wingtiptoys.com. So between these two, there is a parent child trust which will be created automatically because it's a part of the same parent. This child is a part of the same parent, so no need to build a trust again. Okay.
Okay.
So yesterday we discussed something about the transitive trust and non-transitive trust. So that was something like this. Okay. Let's say this is a forest we have all together. Okay. So inside the forest we do have the multiple domains. Okay. So multiple domains can become a parent domain, child domain if you just grandchild domain. Likewise, if we can go ahead and create it, again it will form a tree. Okay. Likewise, in the forest we can have another domain as well, right?
Hmm.
Right. So what we are saying, like, there is something called, there are trust categories. There are two types of trust categories that we do have: transitive trust and non-transitive trust. Okay, so let's say in a forest there are two different domains. Okay, three different domains that we have. Okay, in a
Hmm.
forest there are three different domains we have. Okay, let's say domain A is having a transitive trust with domain B, and domain A is having a transitive trust with domain C. Then by default domain C will be having a transitive trust between B with B. Okay, we
Okay.
no need to build a trust. When these two are built, we no need to build a trust between this C and B. Okay, and that's a transitive trust. But when it comes to the non-transitive trust, let's say domain A is having a non-transitive trust with domain B. Okay, and domain A is having a non-transitive trust between domain C. Then domain C cannot have a trust with domain B. Okay, for that we need to again create it. Got
Okay.
it? So
Yeah.
this is yeah, this is nothing but transitive and non-transitive trust, and these are nothing but the transitive trust categories. Okay, and why do we need to have a trust relationship? Because it is a secure communication path between two different domains. Okay, we need to have, let's say we have a two different domain, and yesterday, like I gave you an example, I have an employees in Wipro, right, and the client location is Facebook, and this Wipro and Facebook both are two different domains, right? And they will be obviously exchanging the communication, exchanging the data, right? Uh, so in that scenario, we need to build a trust in order to have Wipro, you know, employees to log into the Facebook portals, right, or the Facebook tools, right? And likewise, right? So how would Wipro employees can log into the Facebook tools? Because the domain itself is a different, right? For the tools which are being deployed in Facebook is completely different. It is restricted to their domain, right? And Wipro employees are from a different domain. How would they able to log in, right? So in
Hmm.
order for them to log in, we gonna create something called a trust between these two, Wipro and Facebook. And categories and types of trust would be a later option, but the
Hmm.
primary thing is that we need to have a trust between these two. So that's when these people will be able to log in, right?
Hmm.
And now, and again, it depends on what kind of trust that we need to have. Okay, so all right, so trust relationship flows, I just shared you one this, what do you call, picture, right? The flow of secure communication over trust determines the elasticity of a trust. Okay, and the flow of communication over trust. Now there are different types of trust, like said, based on the categories there are two types. Okay, whether it's a transitive trust or non-transitive trust. These are two categories which we have. Okay. Any doubt or anything with transitive and non-transitive?
No.
Okay. Now there is something called trust directions. Okay, so there are different types of trust directions which we have. One way incoming. Okay. And second one is one way outgoing. Okay. And two-way trust. So generally the example which I gave you, okay, so that is most probably a two-way trust.
So
Okay,
like two different domain, if they want to send any communication, so that will be a two-way trust.
exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so that's how the thing. So I'll brief you with some more examples so that you'll be having a clear picture what is one way incoming, what is one way outgoing, right? Okay, think this is a genpack.com. Okay, and think this is, let's say, google.com. These are the two different domains we have. Okay, inside these domains we have the domain controller anyways. Okay, like that. Now, so when we say that one way incoming trust, okay, this is a typical example of one way incoming trust. And when we talk about the uh, one way outgoing trust, the arrow will be like in this position. Okay, I'll tell you the difference. What is the difference between these two? Okay, let's say I want only Genpack users to log into the google.com Google tools, but I don't want Google employees to log into the Genpack tools. Google employees to log into the Genpack tools, right? So that's a kind of one way, right? Only Genpack users can log in, Genpack employees can log into the Google tools, but Google employees cannot log into the Genpack tools.
Mm.
Okay, so it's a kind of one way trust, but here we need to identify whether it is a one way incoming or one way outgoing trust. Okay, so basically one way trust is a unidirectional authentication path created between two domains. Okay, so let's say I in one way trust between, let's say I have a domain A and domain B. Okay, if you want me to put like domain A, domain B, I can put like domain A and think that it's a domain B instead of Google and Genpack.com. Okay, so users in domain A can access resources in domain B. However, users in domain B can't access resources in domain A. Okay,
Okay.
you're getting me?
Yeah.
If there is a one-way trust created between domain A and domain B, then users in domain A can access resources in domain B, but users in domain B cannot access the resources in domain A.
Okay.
Okay, got it. That's a one way trust.
That will be one-way incoming trust, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and one way outgoing, like it's a vice versa.
Hmm.
Okay, but again, in one way trust, you know, we have something called transitive and non-transitive, which we spoke, right? So again, it depends on whether we need to have one way transitive trust or one way non-transitive trust. Again, it depends. Okay, it depends on the organization requirement. We create the trust like that. Okay.
So for that, category should be defined. Means if there will be transitive trust, then only that direction can establish. Otherwise, no.
Yes.
Like that. Okay.
Okay. And uh just just a moment. I was actually looking for some images for you. Okay, so I'll find something and share it with you. Okay, so that's pretty much about this one-way trust incoming and one-way outgoing. So when we have something called two-way trust, when we have the two-way trust, so in that domain A users can access the resources of domain B, and domain B users can access the resources of domain A. Okay,
Okay.
right? If there is a two-way trust which is being established, so any of the users can access the resources of other domain altogether. Okay, now there is something called the trust types we have. See, be careful because during the interview they're gonna ask you like what are the different trust categories, trust directions, and trust types. Okay, categories is different, direction is different, and trust types are different. Okay, so please don't get confused.
Yeah. So, Gopal, it will be established in multiple domain also, right? Not for
Yeah.
two. It can be, yeah.
Yes, yes,
So,
yes.
yes. So, if, for example, if there is a non-transitive trust, and if we are trying to establish two-way trust direction, so how it can be? Because in non-transitive means, for example, three domains are there. So in A and C, there will be no trust by default. So for that, first we need to create manually that trust, or how it will be, because that two-way trust means for AB also there will be two-way trust, then BC and AC, everything will be a two-way trust.
Okay, so I'm just
Yeah.
sharing this screen, this image, right? So as per the image,
Yeah.
now tell me, can you please repeat once?
Yeah. So if we are trying to create a two-way trust, and the
Mm-hmm.
category is non-transitive trust, like that. So
Two-way.
in non-transitive trust, like connection between AB and AC, but there will be no connection in B and C.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Hmm.
And yes, so in two-way trust, there will be a connection established in AB, BC, and AC, everything. So how
No,
it
no,
will
no,
be?
no, 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 no.
Okay.
See, when we say two-way trust, so two-way trust talks about two different domains, not the three domains.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
here BC won't come into the picture. Let's say you have created a two-way transitive trust between A and B.
Huh.
Okay, and A and C. Okay,
Yes.
so domain A users can access the resources of domain B, and domain B users can access the resources of domain A.
Yes.
Likewise, domain A users can access resources of domain C, and domain C users can access the resources of domain A. Right? But there is no trust as but by default, uh, if it is a transitive trust, so by default this will be formed.
Yes.
Okay, between B and C.
Hmm.
Okay, but again, though there is a transitive trust, but again we need to check whether there is a two-way trust established between these two or not. If it
Okay.
is not established, they won't be able to access.
Okay.
Okay, though trust will be there, but
Huh.
accessing part and everything depend on what type of trust directions that we are using.
Okay. And in case of non-transitive?
If it is a non-transitive, anyways they won't be able to log in.
Okay. Hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
and okay, so I was talking about trust types. Okay,
Okay.
so the first one comes to like it's a default trust. Okay, the second one is shortcut trust. In real time scenarios, usually people use two-way trust, and it's a transitive trust only. Okay, non-transitive is very rare. Okay, again
Hmm.
it depends on the client requirement, of course. Okay, so then we have something called external trust, and we have something called forest trust, and we have something called realm trust. Okay, so these are the categories that we have. Okay, so out of this forest trust is very very important, this one.
Okay.
Okay, forest trust is very important because let me tell you. Okay, so first one is the default trust. Okay, so usually in default trust they use two-way transitive trust. Okay, so what happens, I have a domain. Okay, and I also have some child domain. Okay, think that it's a forest root domain. Okay, forest root domain. Okay, so what happens, so it's a child, right? So by default there will be trust created between these two. This is a default trust. Okay, for example, uh, the other picture which I show you. Okay, see, this is the scenario. Okay, parent child trust I was talking about. So by default there will be a default trust created between these two. And what is the difference, what is the disadvantage of this trust is like, the authentication will be a bit slow. Okay,
Hmm.
so this is one thing. And there is something, next one is shortcut trust. Okay, basically shortcut trust is a intra-forest. Okay, between the intra-forest, we need to create this trust. So usually we don't create this shortcut trust. Okay, if people ask you what kind of trust it is, so it can be, one way or two way transitive Kerberos trust can be configured. Okay, because in real time scenarios we don't create this shortcut trust. Default trust is what it will be there by default when we create a child domain. Okay, okay.
Hmm.
And there is something called external trust. Okay, I was giving an example. Okay, so I have something called, it's a domain, not domain. I would say that when we talk about the external trust, so it's altogether different forest. Okay, not a domain, it's a different forest. Let's say this is one forest, and this is another forest I have. If I need to build a trust between these two, okay, then I need to establish external trust.
Okay.
Okay, and it is a one way non-transitive trust. Okay, that's external trust. Okay, so next is we have
Means
something called,
external trust, like for example, if we need to communicate outside, means for example outside the organization, if we need to send
yes,
any data or something.
yes,
Okay.
yes. See, this is a, when we talk about the Genpack and
Yes.
Google.com, right? This
Yes.
is in a different forest, this is in a different forest,
Yes.
right? And we need to create it. So this is nothing but an external forest. But
Mm-hmm.
again, we need to, when we creating the external trust, we need to mention the direction as well. So we are basically creating external two-way transitive trust.
Mm.
Getting me? See,
Yes.
so here it is, it is covering trust type, trust direction, and trust categories. Okay,
Mm.
external two-way transitive trust.
Yes.
Okay, between two different forests when we create. Okay,
Mm. Yes.
so next we have something called forest trust. So forest trust is very important. So basically we usually create between these forest trust between, or we can call it as like, forest to forest trust. We have a two different forest. Okay, and we are creating a trust between two different forest root domain. Okay, so root domain is very important.
Mm.
Okay, so let's say it is a root domain, forest root domain. Okay, and this is another forest root domain for this forest B. Okay, think this is this is a forest and this is forest B. Okay, and if we need to uh, configure a forest trust, so we need to configure it to the forest root domain of these two. Okay, and it can be one way or two way transitive trust.
Yes.
Okay,
Mm.
one way or two way transitive trust.
Mm.
Okay, one way or two way, we can call one way or two way transitive forest trust.
Okay.
Got it?
Mm.
And we have something called realm trust. This is something where we created between trust between, Windows and Linux. Windows or non-Windows servers.
Hmm.
Okay, so I have something called let's say uh, this is consider this is a Google and this is an IBM. Okay, this is IBM and this is Google. Okay, so it doesn't have the Windows, it has a Linux or Unix. Okay, it works on the Linux. IBM basically works on the Linux for suppose, and Google has Windows. And if we need to have to establish a trust between Windows and non-Windows, so that's when we need to use this uh, real-time trust, and it can be one way or two-way non-transitive trust. Okay, any doubt or anything? Yes, no, confused?
No, no.
See, basically the default trust is what you will be asked. Okay, and the forest trust and external trust and real-time trust. Okay, so these are they will ask, and we don't create default trust because it will be created automatically. Forest trust we create, external trust we create. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so any doubts, anything, Harish?
No, only can you please explain the last one? Well, I just got a phone. I couldn't
Okay.
hear.
Okay, so real-time trust is basically, let's suppose I have a two different domains, okay,
Yeah.
google.com and ibm.com,
Yeah.
and Google is having a Windows and IBM is having a Linux.
Hmm.
So when we need to create a trust between Windows and non-Windows devices, so that's where we're gonna use a real-time trust.
Okay.
Okay,
Hmm.
yeah. So we are mostly done with the Active Directory. Okay, so there is nothing much can be asked. Okay, so only site and services is what we need to configure. Okay, we're gonna configure it. It's a small task. The moment tomorrow before starting the DHCP, I'm gonna cover this sites and services lab. Okay, as well as the trust lab. Okay, for that I need to have a different domain I need to create. So I'll just create a lab for that and just show it to you. Okay, and apart from that, we are almost done with uh, Active Directory concepts. We going to from tomorrow we're gonna jump on to the DHCP, and DHCP will take hardly 1 day of time. Okay, tomorrow we're gonna complete DHCP.
Okay.
Okay, but this aid is very important, very very important, because trust, we have group policies, we have OUs, right? We have the FSMO roles. So basically people get job on this Active Directory specialization. In Microsoft we do have a dedicated Active Directory team.
Hmm.
Okay, so any doubts on anything we have so far? Do you have anything?
No.
All right. Okay, so what is the difference between seizing of FSMO roles and transferring of FSMO roles?
So transferring this FSMO role, if the PDC is down, so we can transfer all the FSMO role to the BDC. So this is the FSMO role, and seizing means if the PDC is permanently down, not in use. So in that case, we
Mhm.
need to shut down that PDC. So we will that is a seizing FSMO role, and in that case, we will transfer all the roles to the BDC, and BDC will be the primary domain. Right.
Okay, all right, good, great. So got it. So let me give you some heads up on the DHCP as well today. Okay, so that tomorrow we're gonna save some time. Okay.
While creating the virtual network, in that one subnet also we need to it will be the same one, right? Same
By
IP.
default, by default, the subnet will be created. So tomorrow I am gonna cover something called this. Uh, I'll explain you this subnet again. I think there is a lot of confusion that you people having around. So
Mm.
let me just clarify that, because until and unless we understand this subnet and CIDR block and all, so it is very difficult for us, because uh, let's say we have some series called 10.0.0.0, right? 10.0.0.0. So this is an address space. So out of this address space, let's say if I just create it like 10.0.1.0 and 10.0.2.0, so again there are two subnets we have.
Okay.
Okay, we have divided 10.0.0.0 into two different subnets, which is 10.0.1.0 and 10.0.2.0, right? So altogether these are two different subnets, and they cannot talk to each other until we establish a communication between these two subnets.
Okay.
Okay,
Hmm.
so that's the thing. See, DHCP, so dynamic host configuration protocol. So why DHCP is needed in organization? Because it is a process where we are getting ip will be IP address will be assigned automatically to the systems which will be connected onto the LAN. Okay, so
Hmm.
let's suppose I have a new system and I am connecting it to the office network. So by default I'll be getting an IP address assigned to it. Okay, so system server admin don't doesn't need to go to the that new system physically and assign an IP address. Okay, so this will actually ease the server admin task. So so if you remember, if we have talked something about, we were going to the ncpa.cpl network adapter and we were assigning the IP addresses, right? And we have
Hmm.
another option, something called ncpa.cp, in that automatically obtain IP address. Okay, so when we have DHCP configured, so by default the IP address will be, let me just reshare my screen. Okay, so let's say, okay, so here we have, I have, this is what obtain an IP address automatically, because I'm getting an IP address from DHCP. Okay, if I'm mentioning something, means it is an static IP address which I'm just mentioning here, and I want to have the same IP address to be assigned to this. Okay, if I'm we are selecting this one, by default it will be selected. Okay, when it is selected, it means that this machine or this laptop is getting an IP address automatically assigned by the DHCP server. Okay, so DHCP server basically works on the port 67.
Yeah.
Yes.
Port 67. Okay, for the server, DHCP server, and for the client it's 68. Okay, port numbers are very important, so you can make a note of it. Harish, I've already shared some document with Amrita, you know, I think a few days ago, few weeks ago. Okay, I'll just share it with you as well.
Sure.
Okay, you can make a note of it. Okay,
Hmm.
so why do we need to an DHCP server? Because we need to assign the IP address to the number of computers automatically over the network. Okay, so IP address basically are uh, basically changes over the time. Okay, so I'll, there is something called DORA process which will be asked in the interview. Just make a note of it. DORA. Okay, D means discover. People will ask you the DORA process of DHCP, or if you have any idea on DORA process. Okay, Okay, now how the DORA process will work, so I'll explain you. Let's say we have considered this as an DHCP server. Okay, we have other servers, other servers. Okay, so these are basically by default. These are basically, this is an DHCP server. Okay, these are connected with the DHCP servers. All these are in the network. Okay, let's say I have a new machine. Okay, I have a new machine connected in the network, or let me just put it like that. Consider this as an hub. Okay, okay, now think this is an DHCP server. DHCP. Okay, we have different other servers, not servers, so the client machine we can call. Okay, okay, so now I have something called new machine. Okay, this is a new machine which I connected to the internet, and from internet it is going to the it is connected to internet. Okay, so the moment when I connect this machine, the client device, to the network. Okay, so what happens, it will send a packet. This machine will send a packet. In that packet, what it contains the port MAC address of this machine. Okay, which is nothing but the physical address of this machine. Okay, and the port number of the DHCP server, which is nothing but the 67. Okay, this is so what happens now, this packet will be distributed along all the servers or all the machines which are connected to this network. Getting me? Okay, so when this machine gets connected to the network or the LAN, okay, so by default the packet, there is a packet will be sent across all the systems which are connected to the network. Okay, to this, to this, to this, likewise. Okay, to this as well. Okay, so what happens, so other systems drops the packet. Why? Any idea why do they drop the packet?
Because they already got the IP
No,
and this is the new machine.
no, how would they come to know?
Because of
How
the number port.
exactly?
Yeah.
Okay, so when this new device is sending a packet to all the systems connected to the network, so other system will drop the packet, because in that packet it has the MAC address of its own and port number for which it is looking for, right? So these are nothing but the other client devices, or nothing but the DHCP client,
Hmm.
right? But this packet is having information of DHCP server port number, so which means that this machine is looking for the DHCP server and wants to communicate with the DHCP server.
Hmm.
Okay, so other all machines will drops the packet. This machine actually receives a packet and it says okay, so it is discovering for an IP address. So let me check in my address pool. Okay, In address pool, it will check address pool, and then okay, so as per the availability of IP address, it will gives IP address. Okay, the free IP address which are being not assigned to any other devices. It will, which means it offers an IP address. Okay, it offers an IP address to this. So this is the IP address I do have. So you can take this IP address. Okay, it's nothing but an offer. And now this client device or DHCP client will receive this one. Okay, will receive the IP address, uses it, and send an acknowledgement to the DHCP server that I have received it and I'm using it. This is nothing but the DORA process. Any doubt? If you want me to explain, I can do that again, because this is very important and very important during the interview. It's been generally asked. So any doubt or anything, let me know. I'll be more happy to re-explain. Okay, I think
Yeah.
you are good. Silence means I'll take that as no.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So this is a DORA process, and it works on port number 67 DHCP server, and client works on 68 port. Okay, and we have we have something called the DHCP scope. What is DHCP scope? Okay, DHCP scope is nothing but the range of IP address that are leased or assigned to the client. Okay, let's suppose 10.0 1 till 10.0.255. See, this is nothing but a range of IP address, right? Right. This is nothing but how many IPs we have here out of this.
How many IPs?
253 total. Okay.
Hmm.
So this is nothing but, yeah. So this is nothing but the scope. Okay. The range of IP address that are leased or which are to be assigned to the client. This is nothing but the DHCP scope. Okay. And when DHCP service got started in Windows, it is started from Windows Server 2003 onwards. So there is something called DHCP reservation. You got DHCP scope, right?
Hmm.
Now DHCP reservation. What is the DHCP reservation? Let's say reserving the IP address for a particular computer. Okay. So reserving the IP address to a particular computer or particular system. Okay, so how they are assigning, how do they come to know that whether they need to assign in IP address? Because we usually for any server, okay, so if it is a very critical, okay, and application which are installed on that server is critical, and we don't want to have the IP address to be changed now and then by the DHCP server. So what we're gonna do is that we can reserve the IP address. Let's suppose out of, let's say this is a scope I have 10.0.0.1. Okay, if I want to reserve, let's say I have a new server, and for that new server I need to have a permanent IP. Okay, so what I can do is that I'm gonna reserve an IP address. Let's suppose 6. Okay, so this is an IP address which I want to reserve. Okay, so I can do it for a system, but for that what I need to have, I need to have the MAC address. Okay, because DHCP doesn't understand the system name, it works on the MAC address. Okay, so we need to have the MAC address and we need to map this IP while creating a reservation in the DHCP. Okay, so DHCP reservation basically reserving the IP address for a particular system. For that, what all we need to have, we need to have the MAC address of the device, right, and the IP address which are to be assigned. Okay, if we don't know, so directly we can type get MAC command to get the MAC address. Okay, so that's a DHCP reservation. Okay, so remaining part we gonna cover tomorrow. Okay, DHCP scope and backup restoration, right? And other part, yeah, there is something called least duration period where which I need to discuss. So I'll just cover it right away. Okay. Okay. So DHCP lease. Okay. So what do we mean by DHCP lease? Okay. So usually we have IP address which will be assigned, right? Okay. Okay. IP address which gets assigned to the client device. So there is a time frame. Okay, so all the devices, okay, all the server or the client devices which are there in the network doesn't need to have the permanent what do you call the IP address to be reserved, right? It can change. Okay, so what happens when any IP gets assigned to a client device? Okay, so what happens, there is something called 8 days is the maximum time. Okay, that IP will stays with the same client device for 8 days. Okay, so what happens, the duration least duration period is nothing but where, let's say after 50% of, okay, let's say after 4 days. Okay, so there is one system. Okay, for that system one IP is assigned, for example. Okay, I'll draw it out. Okay, think this is an server DHCP, so this is a client. Okay, and it got some IP address from this server. Okay, it got IP address from this server, getting me? Now what happens, that IP will be assigned and it will be created in this, in DHCP server there will be record will be created. Okay, so this IP address is assigned to this client machine. Okay, for that MAC address is not required, so by default it will pick up. Okay, so what happens, so after 50% means after 4 days, okay, a request will be sent. Okay, request will be sent to the DHCP server for the renewal, that I'm using this IP address, so looking for the renewal. So the same IP address will continue. Okay, let's suppose if after 50% also this DHCP server doesn't receive a request from the client for the renewal, what happens, it will wait for 87.5% days. Okay, Earlier it was 50%, now it is 87.5%. Again, it will wait till this time. So DHCP server will wait till this time. Okay, if it is received any renewal request for this client machine. Okay, if it is not received, okay, so what happens, this IP will be free and it will be assigned to a different device. Okay, so let's suppose I have this client machine and I have joined this domain and I got an IP address, and due to some reason I just shut down this, you know, this server, this client machine I have shut down. So it means the IP address is not assigned. Okay, when the system is not up, so probably it cannot send a request maybe after 50% or 87% or 87.5% of the lease time, right? So we cannot block this IP address for this client machine, right? Where this client machine is not using the IP address. Does that make any sense for keeping that leasing that IP address for this client machine? So what happens? So it will wait, right? The DHCP server will wait till this time. Okay, and after 100% of time, after means after 8 days. Okay, still if there is no request, so it will assign this IP address to the IP address will be free, and if any new system gets connected to the network, so it will assign the same IP address to the different client machine. Okay,
Yes.
any doubt or anything? Harish,
No, I
clear?
just one second. Yeah, I will check this and I will ask you tomorrow.
Okay, sure. So what is the port number of DHCP server, guys?
67.
67.
67 for the DHCP server,
DHCP
68 for
server client.
DHCP client. Okay,
Yes. Yes.
got it. So that's also tomorrow we're gonna cover with some more DHCP configuration. Okay, and Active Directory sites configuration. Okay, so once it is done, we're gonna jump on the we're gonna discuss something about DHCP scope backup. How do we restore it? Okay, and how do we fail over? Okay,
Okay.
just like we have ADC and BDC, right? Likewise, we have something called backup DHCP. So we need to fail over when there is a load. Okay,
Okay.
so that's pretty much from today's session. If you don't have anything to ask, so we can call it a day.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. All right then. Thank you guys. Catch you tomorrow then. Bye bye. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.